So you can kind of see here, I did the 12 o'clock wheelie and it scraped the side of the man in the box fender delete here and kind of bent it up a little bit. I had already messed with it a little bit, so this isn't like pure how it was when I crashed, but looks like I cracked this top piece here inside, so we're going to take that off and see if we can't straighten it out a little bit. So this is really easy to get to. You just essentially take the seat off. And, I have the aftermarket seat, so it fits a little bit tighter than the factory one. But anyways, in here there's 2 bolts that take this rear cowling off. So we'll take that off and see what broke inside. So it's just 2 Phillips head screws right here. And it's just a simple little plastic piece here. It's like a little mount here, and you can see it just broke the tabs off of the rear cowling here, so, or the rear side fairings. That's where it's screwed into under there, so maybe we could just bend it all back in place. So as you can see, we took a pretty good scrape here on the corner of this tail light and up here on the right side of the man in the box plate, and it got up into the side fairing here. So basically I'm just gonna probably bend it back down here and see if I can't restore it back to some semblance of its original shape. I guess the lesson of the day here is that for one, don't do 12 o'clock wheelies. I mean, if you don't know what you're doing, I surely don't know what I'm doing. However, it's just part of the learning process. I've looped out of dirt bikes a ton of times, and you know, I don't really get hurt doing that. But you know, this bike I got for the purpose of learning. It's a great learning bike. So you know, I knew that I was going to have some crashes on it, and you know, that's okay. I accepted the fact that, you know, although the bike was in good shape, that I can't be scared to go out of my comfort zone and try to do things, you know, to learn a little bit about the bike and riding, and try to get better at a skill that I was always kind of afraid to do, which was, you know, wheel up riding. So basically at the end of the day, you know, you're gonna have this happen. So I'm just kind of prepping the bike for stuff like this, you know, trying to get rid of the loose pieces and all. But the biggest lesson I think that I've learned is that you probably need some sort of protection back here if you're going to be continuing to do wheelies and stuff. And Lars has a crash bar, a stunt cage type thing back here, and that's the best overall thing to have. But I just don't know if I want to go that route because it's really obtrusive, and I don't like the way the pegs come out here. And they might, to me it looks like they would hit your leg, so I don't know if I'm gonna do that. So I might try to create some sort of custom, you know, bash bar. We call them in cars bash bars, where they kind of just protect your bumper or your framework. So we'll see about that. But yeah, the lesson is, I guess, get a stunt cage if you're gonna practice stunting. And I don't think I'm gonna get to the point of stunting, but you know, I'd like to be able to pull a decent wheelie. It just looks cool and it's fun to do. So it's gonna happen. I'm not too heartbroken about this here. It's really nothing. It could be a lot worse. And the rear set that broke, it was so cheap to replace. Like, I'm not really too worried about, you know, replacing parts and anything on this bike because it was so cheap. So it was a good learning experience, both in you know, trying to learn a new skill with the wheelies, and also that these bikes are just super resilient and tough and really cheap to fix. So I think I might have got this to where it's good enough, and we'll try to put this top piece back on and see what happens. So although the tabs here broke off, the tabs that go on the rear fairings, I think it's going to be able to be held on by the two big screws here. So I'm going to pop it back on and see if we can't kind of mend it, mold it or whatever back into shape. Looks like I broke this tab too, so that's going to be a little bit of a sticking point there. So I think this thing's just going to have to be put back on in the kind of ghetto fashion here. But you know, like I said before, these parts are all really cheap, so if I want the bike to look perfect again, we're not looking at too much money reinvested in it to do that. So there's a lot of little plastic tabs and stuff on this tailpiece that broke off, so I think the best solution here is to just try to kind of put it back into place and source a new tailpiece, and then you know, it'll have all the tabs needed on it. So the tabs mostly broke off of the tailpiece here, and then some, probably 2 tabs on the fairing. So that's what you could pretty much count on happening if you 12 o'clock a Grom without the fender or the crash or stunt cage on it. So anyways, it goes back on there, and that's halfway decent. So we'll try to match the man in the box plate up on the bottom a little bit better. So this is about the best I was able to get it. I was able to line up a little bit over here correctly, but not so much in this corner. So it's not going to be perfect, but it'll do, and I'm sure it'll happen again. So I'm not going to go too crazy with getting it perfect, but that's looking decent enough for our tailpiece there. So now we're going to move to the rear set, and I'll show you what happened there and how we're going to replace that.